Hey, he's here.
Can you hear Lee on your phone?
Hi.
You can't hear?
Cannot hear Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, good. Well, she's listening. You're hearing her.
Can't,
Hi.
can't,
Okay, good. Yeah. You can hear me here, right?
can't hear you, Steve.
I can hear everything now. Thank
Okay,
you.
in your headphones, right? Okay, I'm going to mute you. All right, so we apologize for being late. Lee wasn't going to come on. She was ill, and at the last minute, she decided to come on, and she has to log in. She has to turn on her computer a certain way so that it knows what headset she's using. And I apologize for taking your time as we took time to do that. So we're starting at 9 minutes beyond the appointed time. Welcome to our call for August 1st and 2nd, our Bucky call. And we have our agenda tonight is to finish up on our ground rules from last week, make some decisions on the ground rules, and then with what time we have left over, we'll tackle our reading of Programming the Universe. At least that's the way I see it at this point. And if you have a different point of view, if I've missed something, please say so in your opening. And so, Fred, how are you feeling, and what do you intend for tonight, and what did I leave out? Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I was thinking maybe we just skip 1 week and just go on with moving with programming the universe, and we can discuss about the rules next week. That I was thinking that because it's tedious and boring and not very interesting to talk about those rules. So I was thinking that we would do that this week, but I'll leave it to the group to decide.
Cool.
I'm feeling quite excited to be on the call. I'm very pleased Lee could make it, and also Richard is here, so that's wonderful. And of course, Steve is here, otherwise, nobody would be there. Let's learn a little bit something. So, Anne, how are you feeling today, and what is your desired takeaway?
Thank you. I'm very grateful, actually very, very grateful for last week's discussion, because it kind of resets and realigns everyone. And also sometimes reminders for ourselves as well. So I really appreciate that. So now I make it a point now to put a what do you call it? To get my phone to an alarm, right? So it reminds me just a few minutes before, because usually I'm depending on myself to tell the time, and sometimes you can just miss it by a few minutes. And I'm yeah, good question. Why do I do that when we have all the tools to help us be right smack on time? So that was really a very good question and got me thinking. And yeah, so I could do this for most things that I'm doing. Okay, I'm just gonna pop out. I think my food is almost here, and I'll be back. So thank you. Um, over to Richard. How do you feel, and what would you like to take away today?
Oh, I feel pretty good. We're in some hot weather and smoky sort of conditions uh, in this part of Canada, uh, but we're looking forward to some rain tomorrow, so that sounds good. And I appreciated the opportunity to revisit my self-organizing um, framework that I had tried out with students and my work in Living Works a number of years ago. Um, and I guess what I want to take away after the meeting is to come up with a smaller diagram and larger print in terms of the four corners. And at some point when we do uh, have a full discussion, then we need to revisit the vision, mission vision sort of corner as well as the leadership corner, and we'll then have a framework to wrap around the inside self-organizing move towards the mission. Yeah. So looking forward to that discussion now or later. And I must be somewhat strange because unlike Fred, I find this kind of discussion at times quite exciting. Just to feel and see the dynamics of working around the whole idea of self-organizing and an emphasis on the planning and not so much on the plan itself. And that probably translates for us into the emphasis on the experiencing and the dynamic of being together in the way that we do. So, Fred, over to Stephen. Stephen, how are you feeling and what's your intentions for today?
You're muted, Stephen.
Okay, so thank you, Richard, very much. So Lee, why don't you go ahead and share your how you're feeling and what do you anticipate discussing and for tonight? You have to unmute.
Mute. I have been in 2 weeks worth of high blood sugars and then crashing, which sends my body into turmoil. And today felt real good in the morning. We went out to dinner, enjoyed a friend, and I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And so my blood sugar went sky high to 400 blood sugar, which is very, very dangerous. But it's coming down. It's 191. I want to get down to 130. And so it does this to my tummy and my brain. So if I don't talk much, you'll understand. I am looking forward to finding out more information about this wonderful book. Please get me going because I'm still trying to figure out the math. My son has helped a little bit, but it is more difficult. So help me out.
Did you say a little bit?
Just a little bit. He helped me a little bit only. I've gotten more from you and Manu and Richard and Steve than I have from my son. And he's a mathematical whiz. So that's because he's my son. I'll give it back to Steve.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, how I'm feeling. I feel real excited and a little nervous and rocky. I'm with Richard in terms of, you see, I really like this discussion. I think that ground rules are just like definitions, I think are profound. And I think a lot of people have discussions without defining words. And so they're arguing about completely different things. And I think that ground rules are critical as an invitation for people to be impeccable with their word, which is, directly related to definitions. So I'm all for having this discussion, Fred, and I appreciate that you think it's boring and you'd like to get back to the book. And so I'm voting with Richard. I love the book, but I think there are some issues in our ground rules. I've done a little summary of what we talked about last time, which I sent out in our invitation, and I've got it up here in Word and happy to address it. Now, if everybody wants to just go ahead with the book, we can, and Richard and I kind of vote saying, hey, let's lag a little bit and let's ponder what we've been talking about and see what significance it has.
No, let's do it. Let's do
And
it.
well, Anne's about to raise her hand, and I appreciate that you're willing to go either way, Fred, or at least you said that, and you can always change your mind. So let me think here. I cannot raise your hand. So So I'm kind of complete right there. Anne has her hand raised. So Anne, go ahead and let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, but actually, I'm okay with either way as well. Just I wanted to address something that Lee said, because Lee, I just wanted, because as a teacher over the years, I've been cracking my head. One of the biggest ones is the issue with math. So because I went to a mathematician for help to train. It was recommended by my sister. She's the engineer, right? And for the life of her, all her life trying to help her older sister, which is me, and my younger brother, she had a tough time explaining things to us in math. So if you ask mathematicians to explain, they won't be the best one. I'll share with you why. So this mathematician from Australia actually put everything into context, and it has to do with our brain. You know how people talk about the intelligences and all that? Like who we are and how our brain works. It's very easy to determine whether your brain works on the number side or not. Okay, a quick question is, do you like math? I rephrase. Do you love math? Yes or no? Okay, so all I do is I ask people, adults, this question: how many of you love math? So the hands will go up. How many of you really, really don't dislike math? And the rest of the hands will go up. And then how many of you are okay with it one way or the other? That one also belongs on no. They don't love math. Full stop. Okay, so the majority of people out there has 80% don't really think in math terms, and our brain is we're really not so math inclined. Not our brain doesn't work in numbers. My sister can drive a car all over the place, and she's counting the car number plates. The numbers. We don't do that. No, who sits down and just pulls out numbers and start calculating them, right? But the math people do, and bear in mind, math was the whole concept of math. It was created by math inclined people, yeah, and the whole policy for math and the curriculum for math, they were developed by. Okay, and then you have the people who write the textbooks. They're written by math inclined people. Classrooms are taught by math inclined people. So it wasn't even written because they don't even know that 80% of the world is struggling with math. Hi, Joe. Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
Ann, how are you?
Yeah. So I'm just helping to let Lee know that, look, it has nothing to do with you or me or people who are not math inclined, but it's just a whole world of math in the sciences. And if you're strong in math, physics, chemistry, it's really up your alley. Ed math up your alley. So for those of us who struggle with that, then you understand where it's coming from. So our strengths can show up in other ways. Like for me, mine is language. I'm such a language person, yeah. And the other one is when a people person, or more task oriented, all that comes into play. Okay, so don't worry about the fact that you can't quite get it. We just need the right people. Like I think you were saying that there was one video that Steve sent, and it was so easy to understand. That person actually took the trouble to explain and show, visually. Yeah, so when Melinda and I discovered this was way back. Let me think. My daughter was about 20. Let me think. Go backwards. She was 8, but 30 over years ago, I learned about this, and I had to go to Singapore to learn from this mathematician from Australia. Okay, so and then when I came back after that, the way we changed out how to explain, make sure our teachers, everyone, make the math visible, and they discover math. They don't just go straight into the formula. There was the other thing, and we start all our sciences and math from the end, not from the beginning. So nobody get excited about the beginning. You got to teach and start from the end, get the excitement, then you go back to the beginning. Does that make sense? Yeah, so nobody did that for us ever. Yeah. So, and except for our group here, taking the trouble and to explain, and Bucky going through, it was in words. So we worked out the words, and it starts to make sense to us. Okay. And the other thing is to put in all the other half of the world that is not so technical. That is in Bucky's thoughts, his philosophy, his books, cosmometry. I was blown away by it. And in fact, like programming the universe, living energies, our group here speaks very differently. So this is the reason why we will thrive here, and I thrived here. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, does that help? So don't feel it's just they're mathematician. They have difficulty explaining to us. You need someone who can bridge that to explain, and which is what we have here. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, guys, for letting me. Does that help?
You want to unmute Lee and comment, or are you good?
Thank you, Anne. That is wonderful. Steve took an hour to explain just what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. You explained, and we repeated and repeated and repeated. And I have forgotten a lot of it because I haven't done it for a while. But I think I got the grasp of it. But the next part of it, I have no idea how to do that. He's got to take another hour of his life and explaining that one. And then the next one, and then the next one. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. This is another thing about math and science concepts. Okay. So I just this one just so that you don't worry about the fact that you can't get it within that hour that Steve has put aside time for you for. Because one of the biggest things I realized is I had to use analogies to help parents understand, because they also expected this kind of expectations for themselves and for their kids. So I had to use a jigsaw puzzle, a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle as an analogy. And I use that in my talks with the parents to orientate them when they come in. So I just pull out, I have a piece. They don't know what the box looks like. They don't know what the picture is. I give them one piece out of 1,000 pieces. I say, can you tell me from this one piece what this is about? What this is actually? There was a brownish kind of piece. I had people saying from cookies to wood to flooring or whatever, right? But it was actually the murky waters of Venice, the Venice canals, right? Yeah, because it's just that it's brown. And then, but one piece, then the next you add another piece. 2 pieces, can you see? Nope. 3 pieces, can you tell? Nope. 4. I put up to 5 pieces, they still can't tell. Okay, it's still, and I don't expect them to be able to tell because it's not making any sense. So likewise, whenever we're dealing like this, this meetings that we have the 5 pieces, we can't tell. Okay, but it's starting to form something, but we don't know what it is, right? And that's exactly learning math and sciences as what it actually is. You learn, and I have to teach parents. I said, your kids learn, you expect them to know immediately. They think they should be able to do their work immediately. And when they cannot, the teacher is not good, they look for tuition. They forgot. When someone explains something for you mathematically or scientifically, you get some. Not all, you get some. And then when you do the work, you get some more, but you don't get all. It's only when the pieces start to add, and you got to do more math for other topics, then it starts to connect. It will not connect that time when someone explains to you. It not. So I gave up. I gave up on that long time ago, and I realized, oh my God, that's how it works. So that's why I came up with an analogy to help people understand how math and the sciences are acquired. It is very different from acquiring facts. It's very different from acquiring languages. Because you've got to figure it out. Otherwise, you can't fix it for the kids. Yeah. So when you tell them this, only way you know that you can see that 1,000 piece and form a picture is if you actually build a massive structure or a bridge across the river or something, like a long river. No, I'm not talking with vehicles on it. Until you do that, you will not see that 1,000 pieces. So within the space of high school, you will get maybe 20 pieces, or maybe, I get two portions that form pictures, but they don't quite connect either. Yeah, Fred, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I want to make a distinction between physics and math. If you learn math, you can learn in the absolute knowledge that what you learn is true. Whereas when you learn physics at different levels, you learn something, for instance, you go to high school, you learn a little bit of physics, then you get to university and they tell you everything you learned before was wrong. Now, the way to do it is through differential equations, and then you learn the basics of classical mechanics, electricity, and particles and stuff like this. And then you get to you pass sophomore, you get to after 4 years, you get to something and they say, nothing that you learn is true. Now everything goes differently, and then you get to learn about quantum mechanics and statistical mechanics and all these things that they tell you, okay, now this is how it is. And then you learn a little bit more, you connect everything together, and nothing fits. We'll see that in a few weeks' time when we look at the definition of energy, which is the most important question in the 60 questions. And I'm going to reveal to you, but don't tell the Wednesday group because this is a surprise for them. We have no idea what energy is. We cannot even define it the same way in different branches of physics. That's why I decided to skip the question. I'm going to keep it for later. Don't tell the others. So if you want to be certain, learn math. Don't go into physics. Because physics, not only you need math, but on top of math, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And we also found out this because people who create the math curriculum, physics curriculum, and chemistry, at math, they all don't talk to each other. So we had to have my sister, the engineer, to come back and redo and reorganize the topics and everything in order to make sense, because there were topics in physics that were showing up in year 10, yeah, but they only taught the math to support it in year 11. That kind of thing would show up, it's really, really weird. Yeah. So it was they don't, and also physics, they don't really know math so much, yeah, because they didn't focus on it, like the level of math all the way. And then math, they don't really know physics either. So they teach math, but there's no physics that come into play for many, many people. They only know physics maybe up to Form 6, or which is matriculation, and they don't know physics all the way to like say engineering or biotech, tech or technological abilities. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that should help with both sides. Yeah. Okay, and Fred is right. Whatever is in our textbooks right now, for sciences, they are all so incorrect, including math, because they started developing it from beginning with people with very basic understanding of math and sciences, and they build it upwards and very limited. That's why there's so many mistakes there and facts are incorrect, and you have to really redo and undo everything. Yeah. So thank you. I'm done.
Joe, you have your hand up, and share, please, and then tell us how you're feeling and what you anticipate for today.
Yeah, no, I mean, just something that actually I was talking about a little bit earlier, is that I think one of the most important things is this is a Bucky concept, is to understand the boundary, and meaning understanding your own boundaries, because that we all know something, right? But the most important thing is that we know something about ourselves, and when it comes to mathematics or whatever, when you're dealing with mathematicians or whomever, it's really trying to figure out how to work with people and understand them. And so, obviously mathematicians do certain things well, and you have to figure out how you can work with those individuals. So anyway, I think just the most important thing, know thyself and understand the boundaries. Fred, I mean, I think, yeah, we don't know what energy is too. And Richard Feynman actually goes through that in great detail. So I am looking forward to that. And as far as how I'm feeling okay. It's good to be back on the Saturday call. Past couple of weeks have been very busy. So the way yeah, both of those, both one in New York, one in outside of the city here. But yeah, no, I'm just looking to get caught up to speed here on programming the universe. I think we're we're headed to the most important parts when I was last here, and you started to cover them already. So I'm sure we'll be revisiting some of the fundamental concepts regarding information, meaning, and so as well as logic and circuits, I think have the potential to be very, very interesting. Especially when we're thinking about terms of like Eulerian circuits, like Euler, which is also interesting. So anyway, we'll get to that. But yeah, just feeling pretty good. It's good to be back.
So you're complete, and it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're actually, I have a couple comments about math. And Fred and I have been back and forth in the little chat here, and expressing I think, some really exciting points, because it was Galileo himself. Well, Richard Feynman. No, there's a guy who created this whole concept about, well, I put in the thing, there's intrinsic order, which the principle of intrinsic order just states that the universe possesses deep objective patterns, which goes back to Anne's comment about having a puzzle, and being able to fit the puzzles together. And there are many languages that allow us to fit the puzzle together. Words are one, but math seems to be a consistent one. And there are people who argue that the mathematical universe, that reality is fundamentally a mathematical structure. And I really don't agree with that. I think the universe is just filled with patterns. And because math is so rock solid in terms of a lack of ambiguity, math becomes an excellent way to talk about universe. But it's not the only way. And it doesn't, because of Gödel, thank you, Gödel's theorem, math doesn't explain everything. And so there needs to be something more than math. And I love what Fred put in about Richard Feynman. One of my favorite things, Feynman said, that anybody who thinks they understand quantum physics does not understand quantum physics. So I think that's cool. I don't know that we can really understand the universe the way it is. I think it's in another dimension, and I do whatever I can in my little three-dimensional reality to express whatever there is. Somebody said, I was listening to something, I see your hand there, Fred. Somebody said that they did some analysis of the universe, found out that it's explained perfectly in 64 dimensions, that the universe we experience in 3D is explained very well in 64 dimensions. I thought that was really exciting, because my brain has trouble getting past 3, all right, Fred, you got your hand up, and I'm not sure what else I was going to say, so I'm having a lot of fun here. Go ahead, Fred.
I think I forgot what I wanted to say.
Take your time.
Let's move on. It's going to come back. Let's move on.
Okay.
Well,
Interrupt
I'll
anytime.
interrupt when I find it.
Joe, you missed some exciting time the last couple of weeks, or the last week at least, on our call, because one of our conversations is about ground rules. And one of our conversations tonight is, do we continue our discussion from ground rules from last week, or do we proceed with the book? And Richard has expressed his opinion. I'm really, and Richard, you can change your mind at any time, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm with Richard. To me, the ground rules are absolutely essential, and there would be less war in the world if we just had our ground rules set up in the first place. And so I think that it's important for us to have the ground rules discussion and come to some kind of consensus. And even though Manu's not here, let him know, he can review our conversation. I would like to just call for a discussion and or a vote as to whether we go into the book or we go into our ground rules discussion. And I'm ready for a ground rules discussion. And I think it's foundational and it is critical. Let me say this. I'm going to say this completely off the wall. If I have a choice as to whether I'm going to make my bed or come to this meeting, I'm going to make my bed. Why? Because I believe it's absolutely critical for me to be impeccable with my word. If I'm not, of course, I'm a human being and I'm not impeccable with my word, but I want to do everything I can to be impeccable with my word. If I do not make that stance, that commitment, then my life is a complete fog. I studying clinical hypnotherapy. The definitions of words and having a common understanding of reality is absolutely critical for any sense of being present to the moment. And I think that I want to have a discussion about this and have a vote. Are we going to do ground rules tonight, or we can do it anytime you want to? I'm not a dictator. And Richard, you got your hand up, so go for it. How are you feeling about this? And what do you go for it, man? What do you? You need to unmute, my friend.
Yeah. Well, what I would kind of like to do is set a small portion of time this evening for any questions, comments, clarifications. And I'm also going off of what Fred said a little bit earlier, that the diagram could be reshaped in terms of making it a little bit smaller and increasing the size of the font. But that might be something to do, is just have a bit of sort of Q&A kind of response, and then go on to the book and come back to the question of the details at our next meeting.
But if we come to a conclusion today, you're okay with that too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just,
okay, good. Okay, well, I'd love to do it. In fact, Richard, I had some questions about your chart that you sent out, and I'd love to discuss those things. How about everybody else? Are we going to do we want to have a conversation about ground rules? Let's take a vote. Raise your hand if you want to go for ground rules. Okay, and Richard's there. Okay, we're all there. Looks like we're all going for ground rules. And we can start at a couple places, and only because I'm kind of in charge of keeping this thing in the corral. I'm going to review what we talked about last time, if I may. And so what I'm going to show you is our conversation. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. That way I can flap back and forth. Here's what Richard said. And I modified it a little bit, Richard. I put little topic headings in front of each one of the things. And I think I sent you a copy of this, and I made a couple of changes. Here's the part that I think is really critical. And that is that there were a couple of things that were brought up.
Can you make it bigger?
What's that?
Can you make it bigger?
Yes, I'm going to.
It's very small.
Yeah, I just was showing you the general format here and of what the general topic was. But let's start right here and let's make it bigger. So
Thank you.
This came from Fred last time, and Fred, I want to double check the source on this. You've represented this code of honor, which was Kelly's kind of thing. At the end of each of the ground rules, each new person actually goes through and makes a commitment for each one of these ground rules and says, I'm hereby making these rules mine, and I agree to abide by them. This you call
this. It was not called the code of honor under Kelly. It was I forgot how it was called, but I thought it was a good way to label it as a code of honor.
Okay.
And I am hereby making these rules mine, and I agree to abide by them. This I added last time from the discussion. So this was not in the original.
Okay, good. So you kind of added that, and I
Yes,
totally
I
agree.
added, and I added something else that you don't have there, which I'm going to put in the chat right now.
Okay, good, because I'd like to make clear on what our sources are on all this.
Okay, and I added another phrase just under I am hereby making these rules mine. I added I'm giving permission to group members to call me if they find I am out of this frame.
Okay, well, good. I think that was under the operating rules, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, allow members to
Okay,
call.
I did not make the distinction at that moment between
Yeah,
operating.
sessions are recorded, planning out, intention, maybe not. Stress continue.
Yeah.
I think you don't have it there.
Yeah, I
It
don't
can
have it.
be,
And I'm
or
going to put
maybe
it
you
there
add it
because
and then we decide which side of the fence we put it.
I like it, actually. Oops, wrong deal. I'm going to find that. Where is it here? Okay, I thought I'd copied this out. I think this is an important ground rule too here. I'm having trouble copying it. Okay, this should do it. Hang on. Let me see. I actually have a way to do that over here. There's 3 buttons, and I should be able to say copy. All right, good. Very good. And so now I'm going to take this over here and put it in right here. Okay. So this is where we left off on our thing. So a cat, and this is in Fred's words, if I'm going to quote you right, but this is basically what Kelly had as ground rules for anybody who joined the calls. And Fred even remembers when I came on the call and when I made these commitments
Yes.
and agreed to it. So that is cool. By the way, Fred, well, I won't. Okay, here we go. New study group. Members are sworn in. I think that's Fred's interpretation as well. But so
Well, that's my words, but that's what we were doing basically.
that's exactly right. So this is Kelly and Fred is basically the source here. Kelly through Fred.
And I'm going to put in the chat the entire code of honor because I rewrote it using first person instead of be on time, which is prescriptive. I say I am willing to be on time. It shows
So,
respect, etc.
okay, good. And I love the first person approach, but I am willing to
Yes.
be on time is different than I will be on time. And so I would get rid of the word willing. But we can talk about that. And I can interject it in here. And Fred, please, you said be on time, and you wrote down how about I will be on time? And the way I like to say it is I will be present at the appointed time. To me, that's a little bit more more explicit and more impeccable.
With you can add in my work clothes and with my time card punched already.
Okay, good. And I will even say in my nightgown or my slippers. And so, you know, the idea I'll be there. It shows respect for the only non-renewable resource of others, which is time. And is it a chance? It is a chance. It's time and togetherness. And it is a chance to build trust, which I think trust with others is cool, but I think what I'd like to put in here is self-trust. You know, when I show up because I said I was going to show up, I start to really trust myself. And when I really trust myself, I brought this up last time, but I think it's really critical. A lot of people, they make a mistake. When I make a mistake, let me own it. When I make a mistake, my tendency is to beat myself up. And I go, oh my gosh, I want to do this right. Will I ever do it right again? Well, if I establish a habit of being my word, then when I've screwed up and I said, I'm not going to do that again, something happens inside of me because I have a trust for myself that when I say something, I will do it. And the only way I develop that trust is by being consistent with being impeccable with my word, which is being at the appointed time. So that's my 2 cents. Richard, do you have your hand up? Please continue.
Yeah, I just want to just say a little bit what I did in terms of referring to this as operating rules. I actually put it in the middle as something that would be used to guide us in the self-organizing way in which we work together towards whatever the vision is going to be articulated as. Um, so the way I placed it in the model is I didn't place it as, if you want, in a quotes operating rule way
Where did you place it?
in the middle.
Right inside here.
Yeah, and so and what's inside in terms of the self-organizing principles is what you are able to do inside to try and move in the direction of the vision and be guided by the boundary nodes and facilitated by whatever the leadership is. So there's a lot more room for, if you want, chaos and order in the middle as you work together towards something.
Okay. Are you complete with that feedback?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you kind of put it in the middle of everything as the underlying ground rules of the underlying anticipated universe. You kind of are defining the universe by putting it there in the middle. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm defining it. It speaks to the personal meaning dynamics that we're all going to respect and facilitate inside the boundary or the framework of the model.
Right on. And I noticed that not only did you say, I hereby make these ground rules mine, you even added from our discussion, I'm giving permission to others to call.
Yeah, Richard has taken the revised code of honor that I placed in the chat last time. You got
Okay.
you have the old one. You worked with the old one.
Yeah. I took it away from being an outside or a boundary operating rule into the dynamics of the self-organizing, the self-organizing dynamics.
Yeah.
And so then on the boundary side, I put the Toltec agreements on one side and the operating rules on the other side.
Okay.
So that was arbitrary on my part. So it may not be the way in which everybody sort of feels or experiences those lists of things.
Okay. I have several questions about how you organize this chart, but I think that you kind of expressed your opinion about that and how they're inside that geometric shape as kind of like foundational. So if I have that right.
Yes, I think you have it right. It's the code of honor basically is a context. It's that's the space within which we operate.
Right. And for me, I don't really care if it's inside or outside. I want to be impeccable with my definitions. And
Right.
so if I have all the little parts right, I can put them anywhere I want to in the large
Yeah,
space.
I think if we work out the wordings of each section, the geometry will emerge, will assemble itself.
Right.
Well, I don't
And I
think we need
think,
to force. I
and
don't think we
because,
need to force. That will come.
yeah. And I think because it's hypergraphic, it's not two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Every point is connected to every point. And at that point, I can take that geometric figure and flip it any way I want to flip it and make anything important or anything in focus, and all the rest still relate and are connected with each other. So to me, I don't really care where it is on the chart. And I'm glad to see that perspective. And I do want to be clear about the wording. And evidently, your wording here is consistent with what we've discussed so far. So I think I'm complete. Richard, do you want to add some more to that?
No, I'm just I'm working again from my understanding of setting up a self-organizing framework and then allowing the personal meaning that each of us has in the sense of how we're going to get to the mission or the vision, and the respect that we have for the boundaries and the leadership that might facilitate us. So the personal meaning, there's a lot of when you're working inside this kind of framework, there's a lot of room for the personal interpretation or meaning that people have. And so in some ways, the idea that I'm willing to be on time kind of represents the dynamic as opposed to I will be on time. And so the wills are kind of on the outside boundaries, and the give and take is inside. And so it's supposed to represent the difference between if you want a 5-year step-by-step strategic plan to achieve something, and the open, chaotic sort of dynamic that's heading for the same direction, but you don't know you've got there until you got there. And when you do get there, that's when the outside viewer, if you want, is going to say, "Oh my God, you must have a perfect sort of 5-year plan because you got there fairly quickly. In fact, you got there before the actual 5 years was up." And so the assumption is that you must have had a step-by-step plan that got you there. And following self-organizing principles, you did not have a step plan. You just had your eyes set on the vision, and you used your own personal meaning inside the framework, and you all work towards it. Sometimes we work towards the vision in a fighting way or a conflictual way, and sometimes it was like beautiful music and harmonic. And it's a mixture of both that ends up getting us to whatever the vision or mission is. And when we get there, we'll know we got there.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about that? Okay, okay, good. You can still hear me. Okay, well, cool. And one of the things that I think are important about what you said is, like, with this geometric figure, which point is more important really depends on the perspective. And that perspective can be about the person who's looking at it or the position the person's in. So I really agree with that. This is the same thing. I've got a rhombic thing going on here, but there's no one point that's more important than the other unless it's due to my perspective where I'm sitting. And I think what I just said totally agrees with what you just said. And in my book, I'm doing a little thing on perspective. And so I'm going to just shut this down for just a second. And one of the things I'm talking about is like running the 4-minute mile. You know, for a while there, doctors were saying the human body is not built to run the 4-minute mile. The human heart will explode before a human being can run a 4-minute mile. And of course, as soon as Thorpe or whoever it was ran the 4-minute mile, within 8, it was Roger Bannister. So as soon as Bannister ran the 4-minute mile, within 18 months, like 25 guys did it. I did a study on, but that would not happen unless the word was explicit, 4-minute mile. It wasn't about a 4-minute mile. It wasn't, I'm willing to do a 4-minute mile. It's, I am running a 4-minute mile, not I'm going to run. People say, well, I'm going to be on time. My question is, well, when are you going to be on time? Well, right now is when I want to be on time. So that's a different lesson. I also looked at not only Bannister and the 4-minute mile, because that's good for us old folks, but for younger folks, I focused on skateboarding. There's a guy named Tony Hawk. They were saying that it's impossible to do a skateboard and go up in the air and flip around and do
720.
720. Well, it was below 720. It was 360. It was 480, I think.
Was it 480?
Yeah, and I think people said, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but you're right. It was more than that. I'm going to drop a bigger punchline. People said the human body can't torque it. There's no way. The heart will explode. The spine will crack. Nobody's going to do that. And Tony Hawk did that configuration, whether it was 720 or 480 or whatever the hell it was. It took him 11 tries to do it the first time. In fact, the games were over and all the participants and all the judges agreed to waive the ground rules and say, Tony, if you're willing to go, we're going to watch you. And they stayed there and watched him. It took him 11 tries. He crashed or didn't make it 11 times. And on the 11th time, he broke the world record and proved the world wrong. Here's what's interesting. Within 3 years, a 13-year-old kid did another 180 degrees more than he did. And then another 11-year-old kid did another 180 degrees. And finally, this kid named Emma Kiwa, whatever his name was, did a full 3 spins in the air 3 times. Let me see. He did what Tony Hawk did 3 times in a row without an issue. And he was there when he did a full 3 turnarounds in the air in front of Tony Hawk. In other words, when I'm explicit what my goals are, I push myself to get there. When I'm sloppy, I'm not getting there. And I think there's a real benefit in moving. You can have your ground rules any way you want to have them. If you want to say, I'm willing to be at the appointed time, that's good. Keep your ground rule. If you want to say, I will be at the appointed time, that's brings with it a different proposition for reality. So I think there are benefits to both. And I think what's really cool is that each person can look at the ground rules and choose their own ground rule. I'm going to say one more thing. I used to do these workshops like Landmark or LifeSpring or EST or whatever you want to call these personal power workshops. And every workshop I attended, and I paid money to attend, the leader would get up and read the ground rules and say, if you can agree to this ground rule, stand up. And then everybody who agreed would stand up and say, okay, if you don't agree with this ground rule, stand up. And so a few people would stand up and they'd sit there and confront this guy and either make him agree to that ground rule or invite him to leave. And I was criticized in my workshop because I said, hey, have any ground rule you want to have. This is my ground rule. This is the one I want, but you have a different body. You have a different universe. You have a different perspective. You create your own ground rule. And instead of doing ground rules in 20 minutes, it took me 4 hours to do ground rules. And I was very criticized because I invited everyone to choose their own ground rules. And if somebody wanted to be in 3 minutes late, I let them be in 3 minutes late under certain conditions. In other words, they had to come in and jump right into the context and not drag people off. I let them create their own ground rules. And you know what? One particular ground rule, we went through this whole thing and a single mom was attending my workshop. And the workshop, we did it every weekend for 4 weeks. And on the 3rd week, this sweet angel stood up and said, you know, my ground rules were really simple because I knew I couldn't do it. But she said, I started practicing my ground rules and being explicit and impeccable with my ground rules. And I decided Friday that I was going to quit smoking. And she quit smoking. Because as soon as she found that part of herself that could actually be her word, she found a new part of herself. So I think it's critical that everybody has their own ground rules and everybody chooses the words that are right for them and be loving and gracious with myself. I'm complete with that. Fred, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned the mile. The world record for the mile is 3:42.60 something this week. It was just beaten by athlete named Kerr from Scotland. So I just wanted to say that. And then in the same parallel to the mile, once somebody did it under, everybody rushed in. It's the same for white men under 10, under 100 meters dash. Once one did, it was considered it's not really possible for white men due to muscular composition to be under 100 meter, under 10. And then one did it, and then now there's 5 or 6 that did it. So that's
So this speaks to me, it speaks to personal commitment to my personal reality. Not everybody's going to do that, but somebody's going to do that. So thank you. You complete, Fred?
yes.
All
Sorry.
right, cool. Go ahead.
I'm complete.
Oops. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I think this is really important because I think in some respects, the examples that you were giving are examples of perhaps what started out as a ground rule turning into a goal. And And when you set the goal in the way in which you've described it, like I will do something, then it becomes part of the vision, it becomes part of the mission. And so it's not really a ground rule anymore. It's now become a goal. And if it takes you 11 times to be on time, then you're going to do like that lady said, oh my God, I actually set a goal and I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I quit smoking, period. Yeah. So it's that there's a little dynamic there as to whether you treat it as a boundary that you're going to try and stay in, or whether you actually elevate it to a vision or a mission that you're going to achieve. And then, as we've just said, once somebody breaks that barrier or reaches that goal, then next day a dozen more seem to be able to do it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Are you complete?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about self-awareness and self-respect and honoring oneself. And when the ground rules or the rules, whatever you want to call them, are about disrespecting and expecting me to hit some standard outside of myself, I can play that game for a while and I might even benefit from it. And life is not about meeting rules outside of me. Life for me is about me being my very best me. And so I may not meet your standards. I may not do that 360. I may not run that 100-yard dash the way you expect. That's okay. And that's why we're every individual doing every individual. And it's about honoring and respecting others. As for me, it's about my sacred self, that you represent a part of me. And I'm not going to disrespect that part of me. I don't want to disrespect you, because in disrespecting you, I am disrespecting some part of me. That's how I hold it.
Yeah. And that's why the language of personal meaning was put in the middle. It allows that very thing to play itself out in the dialogue or the discussion of how do we get to the goal. Yeah.
Cool. And that leaves a couple things yet to be discussed. But everybody complete on this so far? Joe, you've kind of blanked your screen, and I'm hoping that you have the right to have your personal space, and I hope this.
I'm right here. Yeah, I'm right here.
All right, good. And you can do what you want to do here. I'm kind of coming back to. I want to come back to words that we discussed last time. I love this. It's a chance to build self-trust. I added the word self in, and let the designated person know. This is a really important part. Let the designated person know if you will be absent or beyond the appointed time. I think those are important. So go ahead.
Yes, you should write. I will let the designated person know if I will be absent or late.
Yeah.
And I would like to add for Richard. Richard, on top of your file, you wrote that you're not sure which are the 6 elements. The 6 elements are the links between the vertices. You have 4 vertices, and you have 6 connections between each of them.
That's why I put in the dotted lines to represent that. But
I changed his dotted line, by the way, folks. I made one of those solids so it looked more like a tetrahedron, and I didn't get Richard's permission to do that. And if you would like, Richard, I'm happy to change that vertical line back to a dotted line if that'll be more helpful. What do you think?
As I said to you, that it allows you to see that there is a tetrahedral sort of frame here, but in terms of the actual working framework, you use if you want, the diamond sort of boundaries, and so you have 4 nodes, and you have something going on in the middle that respects personal meaning, ties into this code of honor that was written up, and there's those 5 or 6 points. And I added in it kind of parallels with what Angela's Arian had to say about showing up, etc.
I was confused because besides having the personal meaning code of honor in the middle of it as a context, there were 4 nodes, and they're actually, you have mission results up here at the top, you have Toltec over here on the side, you have operating rules on the side, and then down below there are 2. There are Angelus, Aaron, and leadership, and I wasn't sure how the leadership.
Angelus Aaron is inside along with the other.
Along with
The code of honor.
yeah, and that's, to me, that's interesting because the Toltec agreements are so much like Angelus Aaron, but I'll move that.
Well, this is the whole thing, that one might decide that Angelus Aaron is more of a boundary sort of node, and maybe it goes with Toltec. So there's lots of things that can be moved around to sort of capture what it is we want to represent as the 4 nodes, and then the dynamic inside it in terms of, as I said, instead of a step-by-step 5-year strategic plan to get somewhere, we have a much more of a chaotic sort of chaos and order dynamic that represents the personal meaning that each of us attaches to trying to get to the goal, and the boundaries that we're willing to work inside, as to whether it's the Toltec or the operating rules, or, and that's very important because we have the statement in the middle that says, "I'm willing to be called out. I'm willing to have someone say, you're not following the Toltec agreements, or you're not following the operating rules, or some element of those rules or agreements." And I'm willing to be called out on that. And then it's on my mind to decide whether I'm going to come back inside the middle and be guided by those rules, or whether I'm saying, I can't abide by that, so I guess I'm leaving.
Did you say you will be terminated?
I would, because the emphasis would be on me disciplining myself, as opposed to somebody telling me that I'm not following the rules and so I must leave. I would be given the opportunity to adjudicate myself, and I make the decision as to whether I come back inside or whether I stay outside. And then eventually,
yes, I think that's the whole point. But the whole point of giving agreement that somebody called us when we are out of frame is it gives us a chance to recalibrate and readjust and get back into frame. That's the whole idea. The group is not there to enact sanctions. It's just there to, as a group, make sure that we stay within what we decided together, how we're going to be, how we're going to do, and how we're going to operate. And most of the time, I mean, every time, somebody strays a little bit, like allowing high emotions to get in the way or taking things personally. It only takes somebody to say, hey, look, you're out of frame, maybe you cool off a little bit and restart your discussion after you've recentered. I think that's more than enough most of the time. I don't think we can preemptively spell out what we would do if somebody is recalcitrant. I don't think that will happen, so we don't need to do that. We'll figure it out the day that happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we complete with Anne? You have your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Okay. In Asia, calling people out or telling them directly is such a difficult thing for most people to do or take. Yeah, if somebody gives you something really tell you the truth to it. However, Fred, when you put down there, I am. What was the term that we use that we are okay for somebody to call you, agree to you're okay to someone calling you out if you don't you're out of frame, right? That works even in Asia. So I'm just saying, it works on the children, the teenagers. When you ask them for the permission to, you're just asking them like, are you okay if I do this for you, right? And they invariably 100% of the time agree. And when we actually do it, they accept it. So I'm just saying that it works even here. Yeah. All right. And so we teach our people to do this. So you get the kids coming over to your side, or they allow you to stand on their side much faster, including even working adults. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Fred.
I agree, and I agree completely. The point here is it's more polite to say it because I will call it out, even if somebody disagrees. So at least with agreement, it's smoother.
Yeah, and I'm in total agreement too, because it's about
Yep.
giving a person the right to say, yes, you can confront me on this issue, and then don't confront them like a bully. Say, pull them aside and say, hey, you said confront you. What would you like to be confronted about here? I really think it's about a call to consciousness. It's about a call to self-respect, not about some authoritarian demand to conform to some exterior. Now, there are times when it's appropriate to conform to an external command. If I'm in a SEAL team and I'm being dropped off in a helicopter with my double infrared four-eyed goggle things, it's really important to me to do what I said I would do, and even if it costs me my life, because my whole team depends on me. However, I get to develop the skills to get to there, and self-respect and patience and love unfeigned and kindness and gentleness and meekness are just so required as good guidelines and good ground rules for learning self-respect and for learning how to be in a place where, okay, I choose to die. If I have to die to meet this ground rule, I'm choosing to die. It's like I can count on me and you can count on me. And that's a wonderful place to be. And it's not about some dictator saying what's true or not for me. So Fred, I'm complete. Go ahead.
I think we're a little bit too timid on that. You do it very well, but I think we all should rise up to lead this group. And if there's something to say to someone, we just say it, and that's it. It's not being dictatorial; it's protecting the group.
Yeah.
When we say that, hey, look, you're out of frame here, it's not to confront this person. It's because this person needs to be confronted in order to protect the group.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I want to share your diagram, Fred. This is your kind of reaffirming Richard's paradigm and showing how showing your idea of how one can frame our conversation today. So, any comments on this, Fred?
Well, it's the one I have available. I don't have others available yet, but and it's about confrontation, so it's a little bit on topic maybe. But I put it as an example of how to put a slanted tetrahedron so it shows better the volume inside it instead of putting a diamond, which is mostly flat when it appears in 2D.
Agreed. I think Richard was indicating his willingness, in fact, his intention that this be a polygon, a three-dimensional object as opposed to a diamond, just as opposed to a rhombus.
Yeah, sure. But it's maybe not so easy to do in Word or PDF or something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to say that we seem to be in really good consensus here, and I want to come back to just continue with this conversation. So I had be on time, and for me, it's be at the appointed time. And because I don't like late and on time. Then support all questions was item number 2. Why did someone ask the question? Nothing is irrelevant. I love that. One person's tangent may bring the entire group to a deeper understanding and steer the conversation to unplanned areas.
Can you share the document you're reading, please?
I think I am.
No, you're not.
Oh, I apologize. I was so focused on your
It's okay. It's okay.
yeah, on your graphic that I blew it. So here we go. So support
Thank
all
you.
questions. Thank you, Fred. Why did someone ask that question? Nothing is irrelevant. I love this. Every person's tangent brings the entire group to a deeper understanding and steer the conversation in unplanned areas. I like unplanned areas. However, I'm not sure I would appreciate a conversation where we've been in a meeting discussing a particular topic for an hour, we're buried into it, and somebody comes in late and brings up some topic that's not related. To me, that's a stretch. That's hard for me. I want to breathe deep because I would like to finish the topic at hand. So that is an issue for me. Any other comments on that? Okay, be willing to ask
But
questions.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
you can't preempt these kind of things.
I what?
You cannot preempt that. By in writing, it's not a code of honor. It's more an etiquette kind of thing.
Agreed.
So yeah, it may be useful to state it, but not front page like this.
Yeah. No, I'm open because I think even the wildest comment, even if off topic, even if someone comes in an hour late, what they bring up could be very important and significant. So I totally agree. Richard, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just really think that one is really critical and at the essence of what it means to respect the personal meaning that somebody might have in the way in which they are doing things. And that to me, that's the guts, that's the core of working inside a framework, is allowing the personal meaning. So that in an organizational sense, what it meant for me was that instead of having a uniform requirement that everybody comes with a shirt and tie type of thing, we wanted everybody to come with their talents. And so if I wanted to work in a t-shirt and you wanted to work in a shirt and tie, that was a reflection of our respective personal meanings. And I didn't want to see a fight over whether or not I should have been dressed up in a tie instead of a t-shirt, and vice versa. So it's, to me, that this statement is really quite critical to the whole notion of respecting personal meaning that people are exercising to try and get to the common goal.
Cool. See, there's a new
Yeah.
etiquette is also important, but distinct from code of honor. What do you mean by that, Fred?
I mean, if I may take some examples. For instance, somebody comes in late and derails the discussion, not taking the time to listen where we're at because they have something that is bothering them, and maybe it's important, maybe it's useful. But if you do this when you come late and it's completely off topic and you have not had taken the time to get into the discussion first, it's hardly acceptable to do it like this. The same way, if you are in the middle of a presentation and then somebody jumps in and wants to take over your explanation and start to explain it another way or give some different examples while you are processing, proceeding with with a presentation that has structure, I think it's a breach of etiquette. It's a breach of the respect of the person that did the work to prepare something, and derailing it is out of place. Another example would be after presentation is done, and these are examples that I've experienced. So after presentation is done, sometimes it's necessary to give time for everybody to let the new information percolate and then let the understanding slowly make its way through everybody's mind, and jumping in and asking a question that's out of topic, that takes everybody's mind away from the need to reflect on the topic that's just been said. That's also out of etiquette. We need to respect that. They respect the learning time and respect the structure of a presentation, and respect the learning time of people that listen to it. And it's hard to describe, and it's hard to make people understand that. So it has to be said, and then it has to probably to be repeated. But I don't know if it can be if this can be put in writing, because that's also part of a sort of a culture. It's a set of habits and rituals that comes from meeting every week and rubbing our differences together, and then we get an understanding of what works and what doesn't work. But etiquette is quite important, I believe. Do I make
Agreed.
sense? You agree? Okay, thank you. I was trying to read your face, and that was difficult. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay, good. Let's
Okay, let's give me an example. And that will put names on people in the group. We get upset, and I get upset with Manu because he comes late, and mostly it's because he's late all the time. And mostly it's because when he comes in and he's late, he also disrupts quite a bit the flow of the discussion. For whichever way he does it, it's probably, I mean, it rubs the wrong way sometimes. When Joe comes in late, everything goes well. Even if it happens not as often as Manu, but not also, it's not an unlikely event. Joe is late once in a while, but it never disrupts the flow of events. And as far as I know, nobody has ever called Joe on it, whereas we called Manu many times on it. So it's you understand what I mean. Sorry to put you on the spot, Joe. That's just an illustration.
sure. Are you complete? And does anybody else?
No problem at all.
I'm complete. I'm complete. So that's what I mean by etiquette. It's difficult to describe.
And that's really cool. And I have something important to add, but I think we're getting to it. Number 3 is be willing to ask questions and share insights, which kind of goes along with number 2. And then number
Okay,
4,
would you want to rewrite it as I will support all questions and I am willing to ask questions and share insights? And
well,
you can copy paste from Richard's document.
I will. And just to move ahead, there we go. I will support all questions. Okay. Does that
And
work?
then,
That work and add the
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
very good.
And the same for I am willing to ask questions.
You betcha.
I will, okay, thank you. And
Yeah,
I will tell my truth.
I have real issues with present participles, willing, and I will. I'm willing, and I'll share that with my takeaway at the end. And then finally, number 4 here is tell the truth, agree to disagree.
I will tell my truth, yes.
I will tell. Okay.
And I agree to disagree.
Yeah. Okay, and I love this. I am hereby making these ground rules mine. I like that. I like the ownership of that, and I agreed to abide by them. And then I also am giving permission to group members to call me if they find I'm out of this frame. Yeah, and to call me, I mean, the question is,
Call me out?
okay, I like call me out. I think it's a little more confrontive, but I think it's more explicit. To call me could be call me next week. call me out kind of more, create some more immediacy. Is everybody good with what we just did? Okay, good.
Yeah.
And moving, go ahead, Richard.
Yes.
Again, I just want to underline this common reference to agree to disagree. I think speaks very directly to Bohm and Pete's idea of creative suspension and suspended judgment.
Right,
That's what we're really agreeing to do.
that's right.
Maybe we should use that term. I agree to suspend judgment. Yes, that's a good one. Thank you.
You know, in my yoga exercise, Richard, are you complete? Your hand is still
Yes,
up. I want to make sure. Okay. In my yoga exercise, I've been doing this yoga for 2 or 3 years, and about 6 months ago, I woke to the fact that at the end of yoga, when we're in deep relaxation, while we're still in deep relaxation before we sit up for namaste, my teacher has been saying, in this precious moment, let there be no judgment. And that's so profound for me. I mean, suddenly after listening to it for 3 or 4 years, I mean, I've been doing that class maybe 5 years, and suddenly I heard that, and it was just really profound. And I think suspending judgment is a powerful thing. Any other comments, questions?
I like it. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I like it. I think after a presentation, if I think I need some 1-2 minutes of silence for people to get things, I think I will say that.
Cool. Okay, so in the operating rules, again, this was Fred's interpretations of Kelly's context, I think. Is right? Fred.
Yeah, reworking of it. That's correct. Oh, the operating rules?
What's that?
Basic. That's actually quite close to Kelly's contact.
Okay.
I didn't modify many things. I changed the hours because at that time the call were 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's It's basically Kelly's wording here.
Yeah. And this is interesting because allow members to flow in and out of the study group. You mean to say they're going to attend or not attend and excuse themselves for a
No,
month?
this relates to new members.
Okay.
This relates to new members or to people that at some moment decide I'm going to take a few weeks break or something like that.
Okay. Okay. So we're talking about new and old members. For new and
Yes.
old. New and old. Okay, good. And then the next one here is sessions are recorded. Whoops, come on back, baby. Sessions are recorded. Sessions are recorded and notes taken to create an artifact. That was one of Kelly's big things about creating an artifact. The archive may have independent value in the future. That's a side note. Study group members may also be asked to cooperate with creation of the artifact. That's cool. And then planned, any comments? Just raise your hands or speak right up. Planned call length, 2 hours with flexibility at the mercy of the group. And you wanted to change the word mercy to consensus. Are you good with that right now?
Yeah. I was also always dubious about the use of the term mercy here.
Right on. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm all about consensus, which is a very hard, I think Richard will agree. Consensus is really a complicated subject to implement in a social environment. So it's something to be constantly investigated. And then finally, intention to use multiple forms of media to do more or less, do more with less. That could be a little Bucky quote there. To gain experience and to cooperate. That's cool. Now, I really like all of these ground rules, the way we've kind of got them written, but I think the Angelus-Arian thing and especially the Toltec agreements add a context that's really critical. Go ahead.
Richard.
Oh, Richard, go ahead, Richard, sorry.
Yeah, I just was going back to the archive may have independent value. I really think that what that is speaking to is it may have, if you want, mission or vision value. It may really open us up to another way of approaching or or moving in the direction of the agreed upon vision, mission, or purpose.
Okay. Cool. If you want to suggest different wording there, Richard, please do. But I think I got mission or vision value.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, very good. Now, I think if we're ready to continue, listen, I really think that these Toltec rules, I'm in love with these things. There were two sources, one that Fred put in, which is this interpretation, and the other one was directly from copyrighted material by the guy who wrote it, Miguel Ruiz. This interpretation comes from his website, which is copyrighted. And notice that these are just very, very close. So, and I think that this idea of not taking anything personally and not making any assumptions are really are critical to the whole conversation. And I think,
well, then we take the original. It's shorter. And it's original.
I like whatever happens. Don't make it personal, though. I will tell you, Fred, that to me, whatever happens, because sometimes there's shit that happens and it's beyond what I would expect. And so then it becomes very difficult. I like whatever happens, actually.
Okay, then we can keep it. I'm good either way, so it's fine.
All right, good. So I do agree with this context that we shouldn't make anything personally. And Fred, just between you and me, you brought up Manu and you brought up Joe. I think those are, it's time to it's good to have explicit examples. And I think it's so important that if Manu were here or Joe is here, that when you bring up their name, Joe, I hope you did not take it personally. See, which is really interesting because I can mention Joe, but if I mention Joe and Joe, you take it personally, then you're not hearing the general feedback. And if I'm the speaker and I say Joe and I'm not giving general feedback, this taking it personally thing is really a critical concept to disarm the conversation. Joe, you kind of unmuted.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think it's what I was saying a little bit earlier, kind of understanding the boundary, and meaning understanding the boundary is understanding yourself. So if something is going on that we're getting feedback from someone, that's essentially making you more aware. And by having rules explicitly stated, like the way we're calling about here, it enables people to call you out, but it also is helpful so far is that it's I think it's it's not just instilling order, it's, as you said, providing feedback for the individual that something has to change. So from that perspective, I think that's very, that's the most important part of this exercise, I think. Is that having rules explicitly stated so that the lines are drawn that we know when we're violating them. Yeah, can't take offense for some criticism.
Cool. You complete?
I'm good.
Good. Richard, your hand is up.
Yeah, to me, this is the essence of Bohemian dialogue and the essence of this idea that Pete used anyway, I guess, is the language of creative suspension, and Bohm used the language, I guess, of suspended judgment. But that's what this is all about, in my mind. So it can be repeated in a number of different ways, but I think underneath it's really talking about dialogue in the spirit of suspended judgment or creative suspension. Mm-hmm. And if we do that, then we won't take anything personally. And if we do that, we won't make assumptions that turns into an argument or turns into a rigid position that we insist on is correct over everybody else's position.
Cool. You complete?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to say that it's dangerous to think that I'm not going to take it personally at any given moment.
Yeah, well,
First, I get the right to be me. And, you can be just the biggest jerk you want to be to me, Richard, but all of a sudden, if you use the word peewee, which is what my mother called me, I will really be pissed at you. So I want you to know that I will take that personally. So please do not refer to me as peewee. Okay? No, that whole thing was facetious. My mother never said peewee. I'm doing everything I can to make it a point dramatically here. It's nice. I love this, and the reason why I highlighted this, because this respecting your input about Bohemian dialogue consistently is do not be over invested in any particular outcome, and I would like to put in here any particular outcome because I just think it's so important to have this non-judgmental, suspended judgment context and paradigm. So with all respect, I was being a little joking there. Fred, you're good, right? Richard?
No,
You're
no,
good?
no.
All right, go
No,
ahead.
okay, point number 4 on Angelus Aryan. I would like to change it to detach from the outcome in order that it's not negative, yeah, and it's coherent with the previous one. That is, show up, pay attention, tell the truth, detach from the outcome. I think it's more. I like this formulation better. Plus, detach is an important concept for me. Don't get over invested in any particular outcome. I think it's quite heavy, and I'm sorry it comes just after you added that. That's
If you
maybe
want
we
to,
put.
I'm going to write it both ways. Okay.
Yes, and then we'll decide.
Any particular outcome and don't.
And the other one is detach.
Yeah, which is detach from
the outcome.
The outcome. Okay, good. Cool. Are you complete?
Yeah, I'm complete. I'm complete.
Go ahead,
Then
Joe.
the decision to the group, it's fine.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, no, I think that this is actually probably the most important point. Because you're invested in an outcome because you come to a discussion looking to prove something then, if you're attached to it, so that you're vested in the answer as opposed to having a genuine exploration. And so I think that probably, that's probably the most important rule. Anytime you're tied to an outcome, that you're no longer taking feedback, you're actually just trying to prove your point.
Right.
So I think for me that's the most important one of those 4.
Cool. Okay, good. And we're approaching that hour, which is a little bit frustrating. Okay, good. I'm going to save all this. I'll send it out. And I think it's time for, Joe, then are you complete? Because your hand is up, sir. All right, good.
Yep.
All right, so we're at that hour. We're going to be tight. And so there's 6 of us and there's 20 minutes. So that's about 3 minutes each. And if somebody wants to take 6 minutes, I'll just take 1 minute. So, so Joe, how are you feeling tonight? And what are your takeaways? You kind of dropped in on this conversation. We had a whole week about this. Manu was here when we started the conversation, I think, and he isn't here tonight, which is a thing. How are you feeling, Joe? And what are your takeaways? And maybe, yeah.
Go ahead, and maybe.
And maybe what do you want to do? Do we want to continue this conversation and finalize it next week? I'd love to hear that input from everybody.
Yeah, I think that finalizing this is actually, well worthwhile. And that, I think that these, rules can become too rigid. And they can, drown out creativity sometimes. That being said, some degree of order is necessary. So, I think that by, kind of going through this exercise together, that we can appreciate, we could still, allow ourselves to um, explore things in a way that's meaningful, but at the same time, we're going to remain on topic. So, and I mean, obviously, there's some other aspects to that as well. Is that if you come in late, and respecting people's time, and there's an element of accountability that exists with that. Um, that that's important feedback for the individual, as much as it is as uh, demanding the respect for the group. So, being willing to ask questions, I think that that's probably the most important thing. Relates back to not being attached to the outcome. I think that we're in a period where there's a lot of times, especially now, we think we have the answer, and maybe this group is not really. That's not that big of a problem for this group, but it is in general. And so by asking questions, we're actually challenging what we believe. So I think, yeah, this is foundational. This is foundational as far as an exploration goes. And so I'm looking forward to over the next week taking a little bit of a deeper look at this framework, because it is a framework, having a set of, we're having a set of principles, and here are a set of particulars, and how we're gonna engage with one another in a respectful manner. So with that, Lee, how are you feeling? What are you taking away from today?
I appreciate you allowing me to sleep for a little bit. I'm coming into reality finally, coming down from 400 to normal. I have listened throughout all of it, and I am grateful because when I was invited to come into this group, I never had rules put onto my shoulders, except that Steve would keep it telling me, you don't say that. You have to say, how do you feel and what is your takeaway? And I would always get it into my own words, and he would bring me back to reality. And I am very grateful for that. And this has awakened me to much more of what this group means to me as an individual. Everything that we have talked about is reality to our personal self, to the world that we are related to outside of this meeting. There are rules in the universe, to be generalized, or personal rules with our neighbors, our friends, our family. These rules are very, very important. And I'm very, very grateful that we have gone through them and changed them to different corrected terminology. I want to read them again. It has been changed several times. But I'm happy of what has come, what I have come out of it. Richard, how do you feel, and what have you gotten out of tonight's talking.
Well, I'm actually feeling very good, very robust, and again, in terms of past experiences of this kind of format or framework, this has been probably the most dynamic one that I've had, and the appreciation of everybody's input. But we have talked about what eventually will be two of the nodes of the framework. We've talked about a fair amount of what might be inside the dynamics. We haven't talked about the vision or the mission or the purpose part, and we haven't talked about the leadership part. So I'm looking forward to those two nodes being discussed, so that we will then have a, if you want, a complete framework or a complete sort of boundaried dynamic, or yeah, I guess it's a boundary around the dynamics of what we're doing. I also think that we're probably not as in tune with each other around what self-organizing is all about, and what respecting the personal meaning that any one of us has in the way in which we are trying to stay focused on the vision or the mission, and allowing that individuality to really blossom in the dynamics of our conversations and discussions. So I think we've moved a long ways today in terms of talking about the four nodes of the framework, and what goes on inside that would represent the dynamics of self-organizing, which, and for me, self-organizing from a chaos theory perspective honors the order and chaos part of the dynamic, so that there can be room for conflict and rough edges, and there can be room for the harmony of a 2-hour period that sounds like we're all members of a well-established orchestra and singing on the same page, so to speak, but we're actually creating real harmony that's moving us in the direction of whatever our vision is. So that's my big takeaway. I'm looking forward to continuing the framework discussion. Where are we? Anne, how are you feeling? What's your takeaway today?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. In fact, I'm so glad you said what you did, because I do completely agree with you that there can be conflict and everything, and still have that harmony to pull everything together. Yeah. So that when you said that, reminded, because last week I think I shared that I was in a we had the team building thing, and then so what happened was we had this sound bath, which is perfect. And then I remembered that we talked about the sounds, right? And the sounds, when it emanates out there, and then it gets what was the word for it? It gets intercepted by other sounds, right? So all the sounds out there, and so I think the last time I was amazed by the fact that if you have an orchestra, they're all sounds, so they should be intercepting, but then they create such a beautiful harmony, right? And so during that team building session, we were in a hall, right, small hall, and we had the sound bath going, but outside was chaos. Outside the room was chaos, because another team, the two teams, our people were doing a Nerf war, the Nerf gun, and there was this war going on out there, shooting each other, and there was this chaos out there, and the sound was coming into the room, right? But then I thought about that, because then you have this other sound that is so chaotic, and and it's intercepting with this peaceful and harmonized sound inside the room, and yet everything works together in the universe, right? So when you shared that, it kind of reminded me that I wanted to share this earlier. The other thing is, I really like this to detach from the outcome. Don't take it personally. don't overinvest, suspend judgment. They all are really, really critical, because if when people don't understand this, it actually it can even go down the path of anarchy, you know. So in the smallest manner, there are a lot of people out there, not the majority, thank God. A lot of people out there, when they are in the wrong, they just attack. They just attack straight away, you know. I don't know what it is about their lives or whatever that makes them like that, right? Case in point, this at the smallest level. We were at the coming out from a apartment building, right? So there's the road there, and you're waiting for your turn to come out to the main road. A car bumped, just a slight bump, and the person coming out from that car just laid into me, right? Like just yelled at me, right? But I didn't bump. We've been still for a long time and come out. It was a busy. So that was small, but not important. Another one, what I'm going through right now with the person I was sharing that day, is attacking. Now, it is not as bad as I was watching Homicide Los Angeles, a TV program based on true crime. So it can end down the path of really, really horrific crimes, right? So I think in the US, you know Mickey Thompson, right? The race car driver. Correct? Yeah, familiar with Mickey Thompson? Yeah. Okay. So this is in the US. I was watching it. I wasn't familiar with Mickey Thompson. He and the wife, lovely people from the people around and so on, held the partner accountable, right? Because he was not paying as a partner wherever they were running the stuff. He didn't pay the rental. He didn't his part, and ended up with the company in trouble. But what he did was he got people to murder this Mickey Thompson and the wife. Yeah. So there are people who go down that path. They are in the wrong, but they make themselves right and take it so personally that they go down that path into anarchy. So I just want to put it out there. And I wish this is something that young people learn from very young. In fact, parents to do that too, because sometimes they come in, something happened with a child, kids fighting or kids arguing. The parents are coming in and they want to see that kid. They want to yell at the kid. Well, that's akin to just bullying a little kid, a big sized person, or you're an adult and you want to yell down at another kid. So it's more from coming from that space that what can we do that can be stronger to stop at that level, So our what we are doing right now is really, really critical. That's why I just want to put out there. Okay, right. Thank you very much. And then, Steve? Yeah, Steve. How do you feel, and what is your takeaway today?
Okay, we've all gone. No,
Fred.
go
Oh,
ahead.
Fred. Yes,
Okay,
Fred. How do you feel, and what is your takeaway?
Thank you, Anne. I'm feeling pretty good with this discussion. Even though I'm trying to be detached from the outcome, I'm pretty happy with how things are turning out. It's pretty good. It's a little bit like the book discussion. It took us 3-4 weeks, maybe a bit more, to discuss the books and go through that. And it led us to 2 outcomes. One, we made wonderful decisions about our books. And second, it drove Wayne crazy, which was a bonus on like a cherry on top of the cake to see him get upset with, we cannot discuss all day about this. But we made a really good decision. Another takeaway from me is that creativity, I heard somebody talk about creativity and rules can be too strict and rigid and stifle our creativity. I think when all is said and done, creativity comes from discipline. If you get at it every day at 9 o'clock, you will be creative. That's one takeaway for me. Beyond time also allows to hear each other's feelings and intent. It's not just a respect for each other's time, non-renewable resource. It's also respect of everybody to be able to share with everybody else what is our intent and what is our feeling for today. Another takeaway is I would like to have earphones with LED lights like Lee, because I think this is really cool, especially when you sit in the dark, you just flashing at me. Feedback to Richard. Maybe Richard, you need a new microphone or you need to do something about your sound, because I personally find it really hard to understand what you say. So maybe, I don't know what you can do with your system or equipment. I don't know if others also have difficulties to hear Richard, but compared to others, your microphone quality seems to be a little bit on the difficult side here. And I would like to add that the universe never hurries, yet everything gets done. I think it's Galileo that said that, but I'm not completely sure. And etiquette is very important. And examples of etiquette is do not bring new things or documents or ideas or drawings in the takeaways. Do not derail structure presentation. Do not jump in and allow people to benefit from silence. I think we should have work out some stuff about etiquette just to let newcomers know what we expect from them, what sort of interaction is beneficial or acceptable. And in this precious moment, let there be no judgment. And I'm done. Steve, you requested 1 minute, so you have 1 minute. Sorry, I took a little bit longer than I should have.
I'm going to give it to Lee. Lee, did you have a comment? I'm going to give my minute to Lee if she needs it. Did you have a comment about? You got to unmute. Don't waste my precious time with unmuting. Hurry and unmute.
All I was saying is that we need to have respect to each and every one of us in our words. I'm finished.
That kind of echoes.
Thank you. You're muted, Steve.
That echoes. I'm using my seconds, not muting. Hey, that echoes what I was going to say, Lee, just about the idea of being honored to be in the space today. It was really cool. So I'm just really honored. What a great family I have here. I love the idea of harmony. The idea that when two or more are gathered, something else is there. There's a new mind. There's a precious moment. And Jesus said something like that. Also, I think I want to acknowledge the fact that feelings and intentions, there's some stuff to that I should bring in, but it's about acknowledge. Very few people are invited to say how they feel at any given moment. And I think it helps draw people into the present moment. Here's how I'm feeling today. As irrelevant as it might be, here's how distracted I'm feeling, or here's how I'm focused I'm feeling, and here is my intention. So I get a chance to focus that emotional part of me that's not there. I have some notes for next week. I just want to say this. I'm delighted that everyone chooses their own ground rules. I think it's wonderful. And I think we have some issues about that we still have to discuss. About Manu particularly, who has trouble committing to this time. And I even asked Manu, if we made the meeting start half an hour later, would that facilitate you being able to commit? He said it would not. So suddenly I'm at a place where we either have our time or we pick our appointed time, and then we decide to say, because Kelly made an agreement with Manu because it was so early for Manu in Africa to join. Kelly made an agreement, gave him permission to join when he can. We need to decide what our attitude's going to be about that. And I have several good points for next week. My final conclusion, now I'm 2 minutes over. I'm going to go for a third. And that is,
we have a consensus there.
Do we have a consensus? I get another minute. Thank you,
Yes.
Fred, for pointing that out. In fact, I was going to ask for consensus, and you brought it to. When God said, "Let there be light," He didn't say, I'm willing to let there be light. He didn't say, let there be light sometime, or let there be light one of these days real quickly. He said, let there be light. He or she or they or it or whatever that is. So I just am really into being impeccable with my word. I think that was a good model. And I love the lessons I learn when I see myself impeccable with my word and when I see myself out of impeccability. I love the lessons I learn. I'm really honored with this group. We will come back to these points next week and decide how we're going to go from there.
Thank
God
you very
bless
much.
all. Everyone.
Bye-bye.